Hello again, everybody. My name is Derek, or Like a 101, and welcome to another wonderful role-playing video on this beautiful May the 4th. And just because I cannot say it enough, May the 4th be with you. It's so much fun to say. This video is going to be a video about my campaign setting, which has been asked for, a little bit of information about by a few of my subscribers. And I know Tim over at SamY7 had asked for a little bit of information about it, and I like to put out some of that information for him and anybody else interested in learning about my campaign world, the world of Kygreum. So I think what I want to start with is a nice little, give you guys the timeline. I think is a good place to start. The timeline of Kygreum. And then I'll evolve this idea, hopefully, and if anybody is interested in me continuing this whole series, I might turn this into a series of videos about my campaign setting and take you all across Kygreum. So I figured the timeline is a good place to start because the timeline allowed me to really get into my campaign setting and the world itself by creating certain events at certain points. It really helped me figure out what racial motivations were, where they should be, where I can place them in the world, and everything along that. So right now, currently, the timeline of Kygreum is divided into several ages, or times, if you will. And I'll read those to you now. It's the time of the lost, the veiled time, the age of chaos, and the age of the council. So I'll list off important events in each one and tell you a little bit about them if I can without spoiling too much. So you'll hear me say CR after each year, which stands for Capital Reckoning, because in Kygreum there's one giant city in the center of the continent called the capital. And we'll talk about the capital at a later date, but just so you understand what it is when I say Capital Reckoning. So the first recorded date in history that we have is in the time of the lost. And there's only two dates in the time of the lost. The first being in the year 1020 CR, and we have the destruction of the Grey Ones. Now the Grey Ones are a recently discovered deceased race. They are believed to be the original race of Kygreum, but it's not known why they disappeared, where they went, but ruins of their incredible cities have been discovered recently, and a lot of exploration is being put into finding out what happened to them and who they were, or what they were, as there are no pictures or images of what they are. In 3091 CR, there was the Starfall. All that is known about the Starfall is that it appeared to be giant stars, several giant stars falling from the heavens, and that's all that's known. It's all that's written about that survived to the current date. Then we move on to the Veiled time, which the next recorded date is 3205 CR, which is the loss of elven immortality. The elves will not speak to any outsider about what this is, just that it is a time of great sorrow, and whatever occurred in that time to make them lose their immortality is the reason that elves die now. In 3406, we have the rise of the human empire, where the three or four, I may have to refer to my notes, about the humans. There are several subraces of humans. The humans came together and formed an empire, and brought it together and established, and basically brought themselves out of the primordial soup, if you will, together into one strong front. Then, 2 years later, in 3406, we have the first contact between the known races, and this eventually brings about the Age of Chaos in the year 3411, with the beginning of the Race Wars. Now the Race Wars is a long, long war between all of the known races. That first contact between the races is said to be the sparking point. Each race looked upon the other with disdain and hatred and fear and confusion, and instead of attempting peaceful harmony, lashed out at one another and forever embroiled a hatred for the other races. So like I said, in 3411 we have the race wars, and it's the beginning where war is declared on the humans, on the orcs on the dwarves, dwarves on humans, on elves, on everything. The entire world is plunged into chaos. And in 3489 we have the succession and establishment of the Shadowlands. Now the Shadowlands is a conglomerate of the races considered to be the nightmares and shadows and horrors and evil races of the world. And in that we have the tieflings, the vampires, the half-vampires, known as Dhampir, and we have Shadar Kai and revenants. And those races were looked upon with hatred, fear, and scorn. And so instead of embroiling themselves in the conflict, these races of darkness pulled themselves from the mainland of Kygreum, the main area, into the northwest corner and established their own small country where they have holed themselves up and watched as the race wars unfolded. In 4316 we have the Battle of the Undurian Plains, which were eventually renamed the Plains of the Fallen. Ardurian is the Arcanthian word for burning. Arcanthian is the language of magic. The word burning is used to describe the plains because the sunrise and sunset seems to stretch across the plains and make it seem like the entire ground is on fire. However, it was here that the greatest battle of the entire war took place, and it has been renamed the Plains of the Fallen because of so many bodies that littered the battlefield, that when the sun set and rose, there were still bodies dying and burning, if you will, against the sunset. Now, in 5636, now keep in mind real quick, these dates that I'm reading to you, I said the beginning of the race wars was in 3411, and is still going on all the way up to 5636, over 2,000 years of fighting. In 5636, we have the arrival of the Skraeling army. The Skraeling are a race of shapeshifters who came across the seas and brought terror and destruction to Kygreum, and for whatever reason, it was unknown, they didn't even know that they existed, and brought utter destruction to the world. And that started in the same year, the beginning of the Skraeling Wars, and the end of the race wars. Through the efforts of some heroes of legend, they brought together the kings and queens of all the known races at the Citadel of Castiel, who is the creator god, the father god of my world, and brought them all together there to try to bring about a peace, to talk, peace talk, if you will, and a joining of the races against the Skraeling, which they did, which caused the end of the race wars in 5636. However, at that historic meeting, somehow the Skraeling knew about it and invaded the Grand Citadel of Castiel, and in that same time, the Grand Citadel of Castiel falls to the Skraeling army. In 5637, we have the formation of the Cardinal Legion, the grand united army of all the known races, together under one banner to battle the Skraeling. In 5657, we have the end of the Skraeling War, which I will leave a mystery, as it is part of a campaign that I hope to have finished at one point. So I don't want any players to watch this video and try to get an end idea of what's going on. And now we move into the Age of the Council, because in 5657 we have the creation of the Council of Races. A representative, not the king or queen of each race, a new representative, excuse me, is placed at the capital when the capital will begin construction in 5660. That's the construction of the capital. In 5657, the council of races is formed, and it is to ensure that the races remain united together under that single banner, and there is never a return to the race wars. In 5662, the first ruined city of the Grey Ones was discovered during the construction of the capital. And like I said, the Grey Ones are that little known about deceased race. In 5665, construction of the capital is completed. 5668, trade routes are established between the races to help foster brotherhood. 5669, the world market opens inside the capital. And then in 5682 is the outbreak of the Shade Root Plague, which is part of the infection campaign that I have a trailer out for my channel if you want to look at that. That'll explain a little about that campaign. And there are some other dates, but I will not go into those as they are set up for a campaign that I will hopefully be running in the next couple of months. I don't want to spoil any of the events to come. So that is the quick and dirty version of the timeline of Kygreum. And what I have found by creating this timeline is I've really allowed myself to plot out specific events that I really want to run campaigns for. And I have 8 campaigns that I currently want to run and have run several of. And it allows me to put them in an order in those specific timelines to allow events to unfold in the future and create these events. So if anybody is interested in knowing what these campaigns are, they each have a special title. The first campaign is entitled Darkness Rising, The Arrival of the Skraeling, and takes place during the Skraeling War and the formation of the Council. The second campaign is Infection, which I just talked about. The third campaign is entitled Summer Night, K-N-I-G-H-T. The fourth campaign is The Fallen. Then there's the Kingmaker campaign, the Pathfinder adventure path, but I'm going to put a spin on it and adapt it to my setting. Then I have one called The Demons of the Ocean. And then there's Stormfront, subtitled Shadows of an Enemy. And then I have an exploration campaign that will be put out at the very end, almost one of the last ones that I want to do in Kygreum when I have everything established. And I want to adventure out to the other side of the world and let my players roam free on the other side of the continent, or the other side of the world, excuse me. So that is the quick and dirty version of the Kygreum timeline. I hope this has sparked several people's interest in Kygreum. If you have any questions on where you want me to, or comments, or where you want me to go next with the Kygreum campaign setting videos, let me know, and I'll go right into it. I was thinking about maybe talking about the races next, or I can go in a variety of places. If anybody's interested or wants me to go in a specific direction, let me know. I'll be more than happy to. And I hope you all enjoyed this little sneak peek preview into my campaign setting of Kygreum. May the 4th be with you.